Okay, welcome everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. You know, I feel great kinship with everyone in this room because we're all in the business of education and commerce. And today, we're going to spend about 4 hours on this. So let me say at the outset, somebody please disagree with me because we got to keep this exciting and interesting, and I wanted it to be very interactive. When I saw that I was on for 4 hours, the first thing I thought, boy, the state really gets its money. I could attest to that this morning. There's no splurging here. But the second thing I thought, well, it kind of reminds me of what going for lasting 4 hours is Zsa Gabor's fifth husband says, I know what to do, but how am I going to keep it interesting? And so I want to keep it interesting for 4 hours, so please get back, please let me know, and please give us a lot of feedback. But what we're going to talk about today is, I think, a course that is really changing business and how business is how we educate in business education. And it's called Entrepreneurship 2.0. And let me tell you, we're very excited because on May 20th, we're going to start our first simulcast of this program because we got people coming and saying, our entrepreneurs want your training. It's kind of a clinical MBA. This is how you do it. And this, on May 20th, we're going to be simulcasting all the way from Snellville to Shanghai. Literally, the city of Snellville has come to us. We're going to simulcast to the auditorium, and they're inviting all their entrepreneurs. They've invited 1,300 entrepreneurs to come to this. And all the way over to Shanghai, there's going to be, at the Shanghai University, they're going to be getting the training also for their alumni and students. So what is the excitement behind Entrepreneurship 2.0? And I can tell you this. When you're growing a business, you're starting a business, what you all do is very important. The Fast Track program, I've looked at it. I like the Fast Track program. I like what you do. But then what? After somebody starts growing, how do you keep growing? And how do you face all those headwinds? And how do you become, whether you want to be the best restaurant in Georgia or you want to be the best manufacturing company in America, how do you do it? And after I sold my company, I was glad to go over and endow the MBA program at Emory. That's where I got my MBA. And one of the things I realized when I did that was you got a lot of good programs at the university level to how you start a business, some management concepts, but there was nothing out there to teach you how to grow it. You know, how do you come from a family business to a larger business? And we know this, because we've done a lot of studies on this emerging businesses. 60% of the businesses want to grow. 40% say, no, just leave me alone. I like my business. Leave me alone. That's great. That's I have a lot of respect for those 40%. But what we're interested in are in the people who want to grow and know. Or know and grow. Either way you want to say it. We want to help them because I can tell you, as I started opening offices in Chicago, then I went to Hong Kong and South America, it was a lot of luck. You know, people ask me, how did you do it? And, you know, we think we're real smart and all that, and we worked hard, and that's true, but there was just a few times it just was pure luck. And what I want to do is take luck out of the equation with Entrepreneurship 2.0. You know, before I found a management team that could help me grow, I went through 4 management teams. And I had to transition from we all started as a bunch of rebels. You know, I had a bunch of rebels with me, and I said, I got to get another management team to grow. You know, the 4th time, if I hadn't gotten lucky the 4th time, we wouldn't have made it. And almost didn't make it. After 3 times, people just says, he's not a CEO, he can't do it. But I know now that there's some things I learned along the way. And then with going in and down the Emory program, we went back and rewrote the curriculum for the MBA students, and I extracted about 10% from there. There's about 10% in that program that entrepreneurs need to know. So that's how we frame out Entrepreneurship 2.0 and what we do and how we do it. So if you look at this right here, this is what happens. Growth, everybody wants, 60% of the businesses want growth. They're out there, they want it. Here's what it happens. Real simple. It increases complexity. And you've got to know how to deal with this complexity as you grow. And what we do here is try to deal with that complexity. And the most important person in your business as you're growing is the person that can simplify. You know, you don't really know, nobody trains you to look on when you're interviewing somebody and when you're growing, to find that person that can simplify things. It's kind of like just the opposite. It's a little bit counterintuitive because you think, I want to find the smartest people. And we have found in growth companies, there's no correlation between where you graduated from, your intelligence level, and the success of it. There's no correlation. What correlates is how emotionally intelligent they are, how they can relate to people, and how they can simplify. I had a wonderful person. She helped me tremendously. But every morning, she wanted to feel important in the company. So every morning I would come in, and she'd come in, and she would make everything complex for me. You know, we got this problem, this problem. But then she'd go out and fix it, you know. She wanted to go out and fix it. I finally said, you know, hey, Arlene, you know, your job is not to make my work every morning complex. Your job is to simplify this business. So it's a real important part of complexity, and we're going to discuss other ways of dealing with this complexity. Because guess what happens? We know this. As complexity increases and growth increases, some of those superstar, highly talented employees start saying, this is not the way it used to be. That's the first thing they say. This is not the way it used to be, and guess what they do? They start exiting the company. Bound to happen. They start exiting the company, and now, so what you've got now, and you have to deal with that. Now, they don't have to. That's what this training is about, is how to keep those high-performance employees. But if you don't do anything, they tend to leave, and complexity goes up. And you can see that dynamic happening right there. And guess what happens? Pardon my language, this is when all hell breaks loose. This is where we are running around like a chicken with our head cut off. We've heard that saying, but boy, is it true here. Because this is what happens. And we have to deal with that red spot there. And if you don't have a program to deal with it, two things happen. You get lucky and you succeed, or you fail. And we know this, 80% of the growing companies fail. And they don't have to. If we in this room can cut that rate from 80% to 40%, guess what that would do to the GDP of this state? And what it would do to the wealth creation of that state. Nobody was dealing with this in the market. We were just celebrating the 20%. And what our job here is to get that 80% down to 40%, down to 20%. So that's Entrepreneurship 2.0. Now we know this. We have to have a model. You know, if you're going to build a house or you're going to build a company, you've got to have a good plan. You've got to have a structure and a plan and a foundation. Where is that foundation for growth? I mean, I went out there and looked at all of our business models. In business school, we had probably 50 business models. And what we did here in Entrepreneurship 2.0 was come up with one that could deal with that growth. So here is the growth model. Whether you're Starbucks or you a business down in Waycross, Georgia, where I grew up, and you want to grow, this is the model we teach. And if you look at this right here, it's alignment. This whole 7S model is about getting everything in alignment. Because the race car is going pretty fast around the track. And this is getting the wheels in alignment. And if you look at this, the first thing you see is the most important one, shared values. Now, if you're 40% that don't want to grow, you don't really have to have shared values. I think you can do it for the money. I think you can do it because you like doing it. But if you want to grow, what do I mean by shared values? Because this gets you through the midnight oil. This gets you through the humps and the obstacles. If you have shared values, this is what the employees have to have. And today, when I help businesses grow, I go in there and we develop the shared values. It makes a big difference. You know, Herb Keller over at Southwest Airlines. He is known, Southwest Airlines. And by the way, I work a good bit of academia in this. I think academic has a role in all this. But Herb Keller is known in academia as having almost a perfect company. Southwest Airlines. If you want to look at somebody who executed strategy, it's Herb Keller. He was a lawyer, a one-man lawyer office with an assistant. He told her, he says, Dorothy, we're going to go build an airline. How do you do that? I mean, how do you sit in the office and say, we're just going to go build an airline? And what, he drank Jack Daniels every day at 6 p.m. Because he had shared values. What he said, we're going to take these people off Greyhound buses and cars and put them in airplanes. Everybody should have low fares. Nobody should have to ride the Greyhound bus. If the airlines were better, they could lower the price to get people out of those cars. That's a shared value. I mean, that's where the employees at midnight will stay on the loading ramp and unload the luggage because they're helping people get off Greyhound buses. So that's really important. You know, at STI, I made so many mistakes, but our employees were bounding and determined to elevate our part of the IT industry. We were considered the janitorial part of the IT industry. We came in and made it first class. So, what about Starbucks? We talked about coffee this morning. We all going to wake up. What are Starbucks shared values? They turned a coffee shop into a worldwide enterprise. After 15 years, they only had 6 stores, and then something happened. What happened there? They finally figured out their shared values. Before Starbucks, coffee was 50 cents a glass, 50 cents a cup. Get in and get out, right? Let's turn those tables. He came in, Schultz came in and said, you know what? Put sofas in and let them lay around. We'll just charge them $3 for the coffee. You know, let them come in. Let this be like the general store of 18th century America. I want everybody. I want this to be the meeting place. So when you're dealing with these are the shared values your employees got to have. Now we're not going to have time today, even in 4 hours. We're not going to have time to go through all of these. But the thing is, once you have shared values, you've got to align that with the rest of the company. And throughout the day, we'll take one of these and show you how it's done. If you look at it, and when you have shared values, and you get your 7S model in alignment, then there's 5 critical things a growth company has to do. We know this. Every one of them has to do this. You can't find me a growth company that shouldn't be taught on these 5 elements. The first one is declare leadership. What do I mean by declare leadership? Declare leadership is when Herb Keller says, you know, American Airlines may be the leader between Dallas and New York, but between Lubbock, Texas and Birmingham, Alabama, we're going to be the leader of that market. So you take out your niche and you declare leadership in it. And what's important is for us to, that word declare. To say that, and this can go to, like I said, a local restaurant. We're going to be the best restaurant in this city. And this is what, and serving fried chicken. You know, they may do something else better, but Colonel Sanders said, in serving fried, we're going to be the best in every local market. The second one is set the standards and best practices. What do you mean by setting the standards and best practices? You got to do a different set of activities a different way. For instance, go back to our friend Mr. Keller. What some standards he set? Okay, let's start with seating. He said we're going to let the customers seat themselves. His IT guy walked in 1972 and said, you know what, we're going to need $3.5 million for a new IT system just to handle frequent flyer points and seating and everything else. Now he was an entrepreneur. As he has said later on, he didn't have the money anyway. But he said, we're going to let them seat themselves. They said, that will do him in. You know what? If your competitors start saying that's going to do them in, well, we got something going here. You know, we might change the world with an airline, or we might change the county with a restaurant. If your competitors start saying, what in the world? Because you're changing the standards and best practices. We talked about Starbucks. The standard was get in and get out. He says get in and stay a while. So when I'm helping companies grow, we say, you know what? We teach them this in our classes. If you want to, you got to grow every year. You can't just grow 1 year. And the market really looks for you to double your growth every year, or grow 10%, 5%. So don't continue to do it as your competitors